Welcome to the Wealthy in Pajamas podcast, where it's not all about the money, but it's not about the money. I'm your host, Sonia Highfield, the Wealth Expansion Coach, here to help creatives find their real version of wealth, build profitable businesses, and be happy, healthy humans. Welcome everyone to our new season of Wealthy in Pajamas and our interview series, which is super exciting. And we have the amazing, fantastic Amanda Chils here. And Amanda is a therapist and business coach, but those labels are only accurate to a point. She helps women break free from the chains that are holding them back so they can live a life of true freedom and abundance. She helps entrepreneurs build a business that sets them free and feels easy like Sunday morning. I love that description.
We do live in the South, so it vibes.
Yeah, I love it. And you have to tell people where you live, where you run your businesses from, because this was such a big part of why I was like, oh my gosh, we have to have Amanda for this series.
Yeah, so I am originally from Florida, and I moved to North Carolina 9 years ago in February. And I told my parents, I was like, I'm going to move to North Carolina. I'm going to live on a farm. We're going to do equine therapy on the farm. And my parents were like, you've never been to North Carolina. And I'm like, I know, but we're moving there. This is where we're going. And they were like, awesome, we're going to help you. And I was like, all right, cool. That's awesome. So I live on 50 acres. My parents moved up to the same property. So I was like, oh, you're going to move to North Carolina, like up the road. And they were like, no, we're going to build a road to a house on the property.
Yeah, we're going to come live with you.
I'm like, great. We love this. So they live like not even, it's like shouting distance, which has been awesome. I was like, and they finally, like, it took me 2 years to teach them to knock before they walk in. So now they knock as they walk in. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to get any better. Like, I think this is where we're at now. But yeah, I run a private practice. So I do therapy full time, and I do, so we have a team. This is new since I've talked to you. We have a team now. There's 5 of us. So we're like, we have a parking lot. We renovated one of the buildings for offices. We're like legit AF right now.
Wow.
The parking lot felt very big girl. I was like, oh, we have a parking lot. We're fancy. But we run the practice out of the farm. So when the weather is nice, which really it is like 90% of the time, unless it's raining or it's like 30 out, but that's not all the time. We are outside. So we've got turkeys and chickens and roosters that just have free reign. So they're doing whatever. And you can be very sure that like Ruckus, one of our turkeys, is causing some ruckus. She definitely earned that name. We've got goats and sheep and horses and ducks and
a mini pony.
And 2 minis now. We have Peanut and Cleo.
I'm obsessed.
Are just, oh my God. Peanut is like 120 pounds. Like, he's so small and he's so cute. And I just want to like pick him up and like squeeze him until he explodes. So we just like sit outside doing the therapy. And it's really bananas to watch like people's nervous systems chill immediately when we get outside. And 2, it's like the funnest thing. So it's awesome. Yeah, we just get to sit outside and do therapy. And then like I do business coaching sometimes, if like that's not something I advertise a lot, but I always end up with people who are like really amazing. And we'll work together for like 6 months to a year, kind of depending on what they're wanting. And then I do coaching. So if people like don't need therapy but want to work with me, then they can work with me in a coaching capacity. So
that's so awesome. I just love that you did that. And so I was thinking, like, I started inviting people to this interview series that I was like, the theme is wild, weird, and wealthy. And I was like, I hope that people understand when I say weird, I mean it in the best, most positive,
like way. Authentic. Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was like, I think actually weird, when someone says you're weird, you're actually really just honoring yourself.
Yeah. Facts.
Right. So I'm sure you came across that in your journeys of deciding to get a farm and then do therapy on the farm. And I know like you've shared about how you have dyed blue hair and people have told you like that's unprofessional for a therapist.
And
And
they can
so
die. And they can die about it. Like, it's funny that you say that, because I actually, growing up, what I got a lot. So imagine like me, but as a teenager, like I've always been this way. One of like the really great things is like, I can't not be myself. Like I'm terrible at it. So it's like, this is what you get.
yeah.
So I got a lot of, you're so unique.
Yeah.
So unique.
And you're like,
like,
thank you.
Yeah, right. I was like, you obviously mean that as an insult.
Yeah.
Like, it was so clear that it was an insult, but then like, ha ha ha, surprise, as an adult, it's what people want. So like, one of the things that I hear most often is people are like, well, you don't care what anyone thinks. Like, that's so nice. I wish I could do that too. And I'm like, I care what people think to the degree that they're important to me, which most of the time their opinion, I'm like, I take your opinion into consideration. I just take it at 0% because it doesn't matter. And you don't pay my bills, nor are you my boyfriend or my parents. But like, thank you so much. So it's like learning to, one, be yourself in a world that like very quickly will try and put you in your place, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're doing something a little bit different, which if you're being yourself, you're naturally doing things a little differently.
Yes.
And two, learning to like filter people's opinions and feedback to put them like actually where they matter. Like, some feedback is important and it should be integrated. But if someone doesn't know me and they're like, oh, I can't work with you because of your hair. And I'm like, then suffer, bitch. Like, that's not okay. Fine. That's okay. Like, go find a Jackie O if that's the person that you feel more comfortable with. Like, I'm just not for you. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that they're right about me. Like,
or that there's anything wrong with you.
Or that there's anything wrong with me. I'm just not for them. Like, okay, cool. I don't like mayonnaise, but lots of people love mayonnaise. Doesn't make anything wrong with mayonnaise. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, like I had a client, I was having this discussion with some clients, I don't know, probably a year or two ago, where, you know, we were talking about being your weird and authentic and quirky self and, you know, feeling safe to do that online. And one of my clients was like, I don't know, Sonia, like, I don't really see you're weird. And I was like, yeah, because you're my people. You don't think it's weird that I'm pulling tarot cards and doing business coaching, or that like, you know, my masterminds start with a ceremony, or, you know, that like we're doing energy work to, you know, work on your wealth mindset, right? Like,
to them,
I don't think it's weird, but for a lot of people,
that's the point.
It would be. So I think that it's like you have to honor who you are, and then you will inevitably attract the people who appreciate you
and repel the ones that don't, which is really like where the magic is like, you don't want people that are not a good fit for you. It does a disservice to you, and it certainly does a disservice to them. So it's like, and I'm sure, like, I mean, I've worked with people who were not a good fit, and like, I find ways to help them, but like, they probably would have been a much better fit and gotten a much bigger transformation with someone who they were really aligned with, because the vibe is so different. Like, and when you're just like, when you're weird, because humans are so weird when you get to know them, right? Like, everyone's like kind of normal when you first meet them. You're like, oh my God, they must be so normal. Like, they're fucking not. They're weird. Like, they do weird stuff. And when you are okay being like, hey, I'm also weird, people are like, it like gives people permission.
Yeah, it's such validation.
They're like, oh, cool. Like, you have colored hair and you sit outside and you cuss in sessions and you make weird analogies and you're obsessed with your dog. Like, none of those things are like crazy out of the norm, right? But they do make me very me. And then the right people are like, oh, I actually really like color. I don't like beige. I've really wanted short hair for such a long time, but I was so scared of what would people think. And it's like, who cares? Like,
yeah, I think you're spot on. It's really, it gives people permission to be themselves when you are yourself. 100%. And that's part of why I wanted to do this series and really highlight people that have been courageous enough to say, like, here's me, here's how I want to do life and business. Like, I don't care that it's maybe not mainstream or that people in my family don't get it. Like,
Right.
this is what I am called to.
Yeah.
And it does take a lot of courage to actually follow that and trust yourself and be able to say, like, okay, cool, I'm going this way.
Yeah. We're going to do
And
it.
yeah, and like to be able to showcase that to other people, who are like, I don't know if I can do this, or like, I don't see anyone doing what I want to do, or like having those role models where you're like, oh, okay. Like,
And the thing is too, like, there's no big secret. Like, there's no secret to doing it other than like the trade-off to not doing it is feeling like you want to die. So if
yeah.
you don't want to feel like you'd rather die, because that's what it feels like when people are being really honest, like if I'm making a decision that's out of alignment, it feels like I'm dying. And I'm like, not really being dramatic. Like I literally mean like it feels like I'm wading through quicksand with cement shoes in the desert. And there's an alligator. Why is there an alligator in the desert? But they're there biting my ass. Like it feels horrible. So then people are like, why do I hate my business? Why do I hate my job? Why do I hate my partner? Why can I not stand being around my family? One, you're probably out of alignment. And two, maybe they don't celebrate who you are. So you feel like you have to hide all the time. But like, if you look at that in an evolutionary sense, if you're hiding all the time, that means something is hunting you. Imagine being in fight or flight 24/7 like that, and then trying to run a business or be happy or not feel, I mean, you literally feel like you're going to die quite literally because your nervous system thinks you're being hunted. Like, that's not okay. That's not a life. So if the trade-off is I get to be happy and I get people that love to work with me and they're happier and I'm better, great.
Yeah.
Let me just do that. Like, and I'll tell you, like, a huge difference, like, if we're talking in terms of wealth as well, like, authenticity is magnetic. It literally draws the right people to you. And it repels the wrong people, which means you're making more happy money. And when you're happier, when you're more aligned, when you have more space, guess what you have more space to do? To create, to sell, to show up, to like hold space for people. You can't do that if you feel like you're being hunted, or you can't do it well, and you can't do it well for long. So it literally is one of the keys to wealth is like, go be your weird little gremlin self and like tell people that, I don't know. What's like a really weird thing about me? I don't know.
Just be
There's something that we do that's weird.
Your weird gremlin self out in the world.
Just your weird gremlin self. Like
people know.
It's magnetic.
Yeah.
It's magnetic.
Okay. So I love all that. Let me get to my first question here. No, that was all really good. And I felt like it was just important to talk about that weird piece because I am kind of like bringing that to the table here.
It's the magic. Like,
yeah. So what does wealth mean to you?
The first thing that came to mind was space. So let me figure out why my brain is giving me that. I think because it's space to make decisions, space to change your mind, space to say yes or no, space to do what you want to do. Like when you are in, and you can think of wealth in like 100 different ways, but my brain is giving me like resourced and space. So like you can be resourced financially, you can be resourced in terms of like connections, a network, safety, skills, any of those things, right? So like, yeah, it's definitely money. Like let's not deny that like typically more money means you have more comfort and more space. So like if I have to take a break because I'm burned out, like I have the resources and the financial resources to do that. If I need something, but I don't know how to do it, which is like all the time, I am resourced. I have a lot of wealth in my network in finding someone who's smarter than me, in saying like, okay, where is this person really wealthy in knowledge and skill set, in education, in financing, in whatever, can they help? So it's kind of like it's like a tree, right? Where like all these things are wealth, but it's the space to say like, what do I need? Let me go get it. Or let me figure out a way to get it and have the space to do that. And it just gives you the space to make choices. Because if you're not in survival mode, if you're not having to live paycheck to paycheck, which a lot of people do, and a lot of, really early business owners, I think, kind of screw themselves when they quit their job too early because they want to be like, go all in on your business. It's like, oh my God, please keep a safety net.
Yeah.
Then they remove that choice. They remove the space to make that choice because now it's do or die, like you have to eat. So my brain is giving me space.
Yeah. I love that answer. Yeah. I mean, space, choice. Yeah. Those are things I think that do come with some amount of privilege, right? Even though we like to think that, anyone in any situation has choice, but oftentimes you're right. It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. Well, and I think you always have a choice. Not all of them are good. Like, yes, you always have a choice, but like the more privilege you have, the more better choices you have, the more money you have, the more better choices you have. Like if you have a problem money can solve, you don't have a problem.
Yeah. Ooh.
So, right. Yeah. Read that somewhere on the internet, but it's true when you think about choices. Like if I have a flat tire and I need to get a new tire, like I don't really have a problem because I can go buy a new tire. If I have an employee who is struggling and needs to go, like, and I can cover like whatever I need to cover for them, like, then I don't really have a problem. So wealth is also like the ability to remove problems because you're resourced in whatever way that makes sense.
Yeah, it's coming to mind just like the song that's like more money, more problems, but it's like, well, more money, more solutions, more
literally
choices.
Yeah, and more wealth, more choices, because you can have so much wealth in your network. Like I have friends who are so much smarter than me, and I'm just like, love me. Like I'm stupid, love me, which I think is one of the beautiful things about like masterminds is you like get in a room with people where you're like, how did I get into this room? Like, I'm afraid, like I bamboozled all of you. How did I get here? And it's like, those are the rooms that you want to be in. And that becomes wealth.
Yes, for sure. And I just have to say too, going back to the space thing, I'm enrolling for a program right now called Spacious Business. And so I think that answer of, wealth is space. I just love it. It's like, spot on. Yeah. Good job, brain.
Good job, brain. But it's true, right? Because you have the space to say, like, what do I want to do?
Yeah.
And if you're like always, so I was in a space this year in 2022 where like I was in the business so much that I was literally like, oh my God, working so much because I also had to do the admin work, I had to run the business. So like, you also have the space to work on it and to grow and to scale and to do the things that you want to do because you're not in the business as much. And like, wealth is so many things.
Yeah, so true. So tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Like, how did you actually land here where you are a therapist and business coach and working from a farm?
So I don't have a reason for moving to North Carolina on a farm other than when the universe knocks, I don't question. I'm like, okay, well, this is what we're doing. I had never been to North Carolina before I moved here. And I was like, I'm going to live in North Carolina. So I looked at every single farm for sale in the state for 2 years, every single day. And I was like, I'm going to find a farm. So my parents and I came up a couple times. And when I found the farm I live on now, my dad and I were up. And I like got out of the car and I was like, this is where we're living. This is it. Like immediately I knew. And it took us a while to get the property. We almost didn't get it because of some like shenanigans that the bank was trying to pull. So we ended up having to go through a private lender, which ended up working out really well. Super nice guy. But I always knew I would be an entrepreneur. My dad owned his own business because he is impossible to work for other people. He's impossible.
We're all unemployable.
No, he's literally unemployable. Unless you just let him do what he wants 24/7, he is unemployable. Like there is no. So I agree, like my dad made it to every single thing that we did. He had time off whenever he wanted. Like he made good money. He set his own schedule. quite literally, he's the only person I've ever met who like literally always only does what they want and never does what they don't want. Like it's on a level that you're like, how do you function? But he does fine and he's happy.
Yeah.
Works really well for him. So like I had that growing up where it was like, why would I ever do what somebody else wanted me to do when I can just do what I want and like he's thriving? Why would I not do that?
Yeah.
And then my mom worked for she worked for a city government, which if you know anyone who works for a local government is the most inefficient, bureaucratic, political piece of shit environment. It's exhausting. She didn't love her job. She like mostly liked the people she worked with, but she didn't love it, but it was stable and it was safe and it was secure. And like, she liked those aspects of it, but I was like, you're not happy. We hate this. No, thank you. So I like did what I had to do. I worked, when you're going to be a therapist, you have to be under supervision for a couple years. So I worked for companies while I was getting supervised. And then I was working in a methadone clinic, which is for people who have an opiate addiction. So they work kind of weird hours. They're open like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I'd be done with work by like 1 p.m. every day. And I'm like, what am I going to do with my time? I should make more money. And I knew that I would be like running the business out of the farm. So I started doing that. And it was like, I knew that the plan was never not to be an entrepreneur. Like I went into therapy knowing I wanted to work with horses. I wanted to do therapy and I wanted to work for myself. Like I knew all of those things. So that's one of the things that I knew when I was young, but I'm not like, oh, I had a lemonade stand when I was 6. Like, no, I worked normal jobs until I started my practice.
Gotcha.
And I just started taking on clients. And like, when we talk about being weird and being yourself and doing it your way, like I did that from the beginning because there was no reason not to. I had this safety net. Like I had a full-time job. I had that income. It was super stable. And so I could play around with growing slowly and building slowly and like waiting for clients. It wasn't like I had to get clients immediately. So I took on a bunch of the wrong ones. That was really intentional. Yeah, I had the space, right? That was really intentional. I kept my job for 2 years. And even when I matched what I was making, I kept my job because why not? I was done at 1 p.m. every day.
Yeah.
And instead of pulling in $3,000 a month, I can pull in 6. Like,
right.
Why would I not keep my job? I'm going to do that. So once I stepped out of that, I stepped into full time, and then I think I doubled my income pretty like rapidly. So that was really exciting and cool.
Yeah.
But I always knew I'd be an entrepreneur. So I built it slowly and I built it intentionally. And I was like, well, I want to work from home. Like I literally built a business to hang out with my dog. Like literally one of the reasons I work from home is to hang out with Madge all day long, every day. And to wear leggings. And
I respect that so much.
literally to hang out with Madge. I was like, I want to hang out with Madge all day long. I want to hang out with my ponies. And why would I not do that if I don't have to? And it has a bunch of other perks, right? Like I work from home, I don't pay rent. Now we pay rent to ourselves, like the farm pays rent, but I'm like, tax write-off.
Yeah.
But like I get to walk out my back door and like go to work. So, and that was the intention all along, but it took really this year, so 8 years to fully like have a team. And the group was not something I was planning. I was planning to just work for myself and by myself forever. But I actually like our little like baby team. So
yeah.
We like the vibe.
Amazing. I love to hear people's journeys because it's never really a straight line and there's so many different ways to do it. And, having that little safety net too is always good. Like I always tell people to not do what I did.
Like quit your job and go all
well, right. I still had my own business. I was just in my photography business. And when I decided to go full time with coaching, I was like, on paper, it actually did not make sense because I didn't have like really income from it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, don't do what I did. But that was my path. That was what I felt called to do.
For some people that works really well, but like for me, had I done that, it would have been too much pressure. And if I worked like a 9 to 5, I may have done things differently, but because I worked 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., I had literally every afternoon free. And I keep the same schedule. Like I don't see clients in the mornings ever. Like I literally keep the same schedule I had because that works really well for me. So part of like being your weird is like, I'm 100% a morning person. I'm one of those like really annoying morning people where as soon as I wake up, I'm like, hello, do you want to party? Love me. Let's rage. And everyone's like, can you shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Can you not? And I'm like, no, I need stimulation. Love me. And like, that's a weird thing about me is I'm very much a morning person, but like, I don't want to talk to people in the mornings. I only
You
want to
don't
see.
want to do work. You don't want to do therapy. Or
Well, I do the
coaching,
back
like,
end work. Right. So like,
yeah.
I'm really creative in the mornings. So I just see clients all afternoon and that schedule works really well for me. So like weird can also be like little quirks that you have.
Yes.
Where it's like, maybe it's weird that I built my business to hang out with my dog all day, but like there is nothing better than that to me. So like, I'm going to do that.
I think that's perfectly normal.
I feel like it is too.
I
Best is
100% am so happy to be home with my dog. And like, I always told my husband, I was like, whenever we get a dog, like I'm probably going to not work anymore because I'll just be obsessed with
right.
the
Now, if I
dog.
can find a way to like not have to wear pants anymore, then we're like really jamming, but I'm not exactly sure how to do that with like therapy clients.
Yeah, just Zoom life. You can do no pants, but not
Yeah,
in
but I
person.
hate that. I'd rather be in person. So I'm like, well, maybe it's your lucky day and I won't have pants on, but like, I guess we got to wear pants.
Yeah, for legal reasons, you should.
For legal reasons, I have to wear pants. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been great.
I love that. So I'd love to talk a little bit about money things, money mindset with you. And I mean, because you sound like you always had that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, but working for other people and then working for yourself, like, can you talk a little bit about how your own money story has kind of evolved, or like where were you at when you started?
Yeah. Okay. So one, growing up with I got really lucky in a lot of ways. I got very, lucky in a lot of ways. My dad has never had, I don't think he has scarcity mindset around anything. Again, he's a whole character. Like he's never been someone who worries about money because he's like, it'll always come and it doesn't matter if I have none, I can always make it. So like that was my mom though, on the other hand, is very like, she has a lot of anxiety around money. Both my parents grew up extremely poor. My mom grew up on a farm in Illinois. She was born in the 50s. Like they didn't have a bathroom level poor, like extremely, extremely poor. My dad grew up in Cuba. So like take that level of poor and then add like 17 layers, like dirt floor, the peak of communism. He was born in 44. Like,
wow,
they don't have money there, right? Like they have money, but like everything is controlled by the government.
Yeah.
So what he learned and what people who grow up in that kind of environment learn is to be extremely resourceful, to be kind of sneaky, and to always get what you need, right? So it's like watching them now as an adult with their different money mindsets and knowing what I know is like really bananas.
Yeah.
But growing up, it was more like, I mean, literally, we didn't worry about money. We were privileged in that way. Both my parents made good incomes. Two, my dad's attitude around money was always, I'll just make more. Because so he did air conditioning work. So like if he wanted money, he would just get a client. So it was like, there was never any like, oh no, what am I going to do? He's like, there's always clients. There's always people, like someone is always in need. We lived in Florida. So it's like air conditioning all year round.
Yeah.
So like that was never an issue. So it was always abundant. It was always overflowing. It was always, let me do this. And they both have a very giving attitude around money as well. So like that grew up being very normal. Like he's taken multiple people in who were housing insecure or homeless and like taught them how to redo appliances, how to do HVAC. Like he set up a bunch of friends and a bunch of like, not like family members, but like other Cubans, like, and set them up with like HVAC businesses to say like, let me apprentice you, let me teach you how to do this. And now they're doing well. So it was also like, when we talk about wealth and money, it was also so collective. And it was so like, let me take what I know and share. Like when you have enough, you build a longer table. And that's something they've always done, is like, let me share what I know. Let me share the wealth. Let me support. Let me help. And like, that's the point, right? When you're resource other people. That was the messaging I got. So
there's so many beautiful lessons in there to have
literally
to grown up with.
Like everyone just come have my parents. They're so great.
Yeah.
But that was normal. And it like, I never worried about money. I never had to, like, it was always, I can make more. This is not a problem. And my dad is one of like the smartest people I ever met. He's like dumb good with money too. So he's like, oh, this will do this. And he always has like a deal somewhere. And he's really lucky if we talk about wealth in another sense of being being someone who's like gifted opportunities, my dad is really wealthy in that way. Like shit falls into his lap because he's always open to receiving. He's always looking. He's always like talking to people and saying, oh, that's interesting. Let me follow that. Oh, that sounds like an opportunity. Like he's someone who's just so energetically open to receiving. And I'm like, that's fucking wealth. Like that is wealth. When the universe
I'm going to have your dad on the podcast.
bro, listen, I am going to interview him this year and I'm just going to do like a whole series because he should have a YouTube channel. Like
I love it. Yeah.
But he is bananas. But the cool thing is like when you grow up with that, you kind of become that, right? So like now that I was like, oh, that's intentional. Like I don't think he does it on purpose, but it is intentional, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like he doesn't know he's doing it. But I'm like, so now people are like, you get so lucky. These things fall into your lap. And I'm like, yeah. Because
why wouldn't they?
open to receiving. I've done my shadow work. I've dug through my crap so that I can be receptive. Like I receive and I turn around and give. Like that's literally what I do for a living. I learn something, I apply it to my clients. And like I was talking to a friend the other day and they said something really clever. And I was like, oh, let me write that down. I'm going to use it for clients. And they were like, how does your brain do that? And I'm like, if you imagine I have like little meerkats in my brain, you know how meerkats will like pop up out of the sand? Here's a weird thing that I do. Like, here's a weird analogy for you. My little meerkat brain pops up out of the sand and it's like, ooh, spicy. And then I just like make a note of it and do it to my clients. And like, we were watching Knives Out Glass Onion. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh my God, watch it. It's on Netflix. It's so freaking good. And there's a quote in there that says, it's dangerous to confuse speaking the truth with speaking without thought. And I was like, pause that bitch. And I wrote it down. And Raphael, the guy I'm seeing, was like, you're going to use that for clients, aren't you? And I was like, 100, you can bet I am. So it's like, when you're open to receiving, there's things everywhere. And that becomes another source of wealth, is being able to access what you already have access to. And the wealth of things that are 100% around you all the time is an ability to like use that wealth. I don't remember where I was going with this mindset. Sorry. And so when I started the business, it was like, oh, I'm comfortable. It'll grow as it grows. Like there was no rush to make money, and money was something like fun to play with. Now mirror that with, I was married at the time to a man who was a lot of lessons wrapped in he was a gift wrapped in like barbed wire and bombs.
Yeah.
Not the funnest gift to open, but definitely necessary. And so I was pulling in like, you know, 4 or 5, 6,000 a month. He was spending 7 or 8. Like,
gotcha.
I mean, it was like, I got myself into like a $40,000 hole. And by I got myself, I mean, he got me into that. So when we separated, I was like $40,000 in debt. His debt, which was again a gift wrapped in barbed wire and bombs. And I was like, thank you. I will never be here again.
Yeah. I mean, so I know so many people, myself included, have like gotten into debt and then carried so much shame around having that debt, where then it hinders you actually from feeling like
heavy, right? And it was like, if I had gotten myself into that fully, like I made a bad purchase, I bought a too expensive car, I would have been like, yeah, I feel really like, I feel dumb, I feel embarrassed, I feel guilty for that. But like the extra layer of like knowing that I let a man do that to me, knowing that I let my husband do that to me, was like, so for me was so much worse. I was like, not only do I owe this much money, I let my husband do this to me. Like that, we were mad. We gonna be mad about that for a while, but like I've accepted it now. But I was like, okay. And I ate that I paid that off. Like, wow. I was like, you know what? This is worth it to get you out of my life. I don't care, whatever, I will pay it off. So I did. And I was like, well, damn, if I can pay off that much money, I can just bank that much money. So it was always this cycle of like, money flows easily. There's always enough. There's always more. And like the majority of the jobs I had, were you ever a server?
Nope.
Okay. So I was reading an Instagram post the other day about someone who, they said like one of the best jobs if you want to be an entrepreneur is to be a server, because it teaches you that you can always just go make more money. You can pick up a shift. You learn how to be really good with people. You learn like how to upsell. And I was like, damn, that's so true. So like, as a server who served for probably 10 years, like anytime I wanted extra money, I could just pick up a serving job. So it's like that confidence that comes from like, I can always make money. There's always money to be made. And it's not a big deal. It's so freeing, because a lot of people have this like white knuckle grip with money. We're like, never enough and I'll never get it. And da, 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 da. And like that energy is like, it repels. And money is like, you're so needy and desperate. Like you're going to stay that way until you learn to chill. So you have to chill. You have to like regulate things.
And and so many people get there, and I have absolutely been in that position many times where it's like, I'm so tightly wound and stressed about it that you're right. It really does. It does repel. And it also, it shuts you. It's like, it sounds counterintuitive, but it's like needing it so bad starts to close you off from actually being open.
Yeah. Well, it's like if someone's like desperate to sleep with you and you're like, ew, can you go? Like, can you not? Because that energy is literally off-putting. And if we go back into like nervous system regulation, which is something I work in a lot, like you're in fight or flight. And what happens when you're in fight or flight? All the blood drains from your brain and into your extremities. So guess what? You're not doing very well. Thinking.
Yeah.
Because you're running, and you can't run from something and fix it. They can't coexist. You can't run from something and be creative. And what does it take to make money well? Creating something, being creative, and like energetically being open. But if you're running for your life, you're not also like, how am I going to fix this hole in my business so I make more money? Like, that's not going to happen. So we have to like calm down from that and release. And then the universe is like, oh yeah, I was just waiting for you to chill. Like,
that makes me want to like take a big breath. It's just
right?
Like, okay, can we just like land in the moment?
Which is all it takes, is like taking a step back and saying like, okay, what do I need to do? And people always know, like that's, I love this like theme of wealth that we're having. If like we take wealth as being resourced as well, and like it is, then people always know what to do, right? I'm sure you see that all the time in a coaching capacity. Like we're helping people. Sometimes we're giving strategy, but a lot of the time it's us helping them find their own answers. And people always have their own answers.
And they just need the space to do it. Literally, I say that all the time.
It's almost like it was on purpose.
It's almost like we planned it. But this is so true all the time, where people will be like, well, after our one session, like I finally hit all my goals. I finally was able to like implement all the things. Blah, blah.
You had to stop white knuckling shit.
And I'm like, and because you took the space to talk about it, to think about it in a way. Like my clients always tell me that they feel really calm in my presence. I'm like, and guess what? You make better choices, you make better decisions, you're more like clear and confident in your own, intuition and visions and goals. And it's like, so many people literally just don't take the time and space.
Well, they don't know how, right? Like our culture is so productive, distract, go, hustle, grind, which like there's a space for that. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm someone who works a lot and who likes to work and likes to hustle. Like I like those seasons, but I don't want to do them forever. Like
all the time. Yeah.
But that's what's glorified. Or at least I think it's getting better, but like, you don't want to you don't want to run from a bear 24/7. That's just not sustainable.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I have so many things to say about that, but take a nap and then you can do things. Okay. So I have a couple more questions I want to make sure we get to before we wrap up. So, in terms of like, I mean, it sounds like you had really a pretty amazing upbringing in terms of like the role models and support that you had from your parents, but what else do you feel like has allowed you to really show up in the world as your weird, wild, wealthy self? Like what has helped you or has given you permission, or like what allows you to show up and just be you?
Not giving a fuck. Like not caring, but I'll systemize that for you, right? So like I have a process of filtering information and advice and feedback.
Oh.
And this is the same process I teach my clients. So here you all go. Number one, is it true? Maybe the feedback is true. Is purple hair unprofessional? I don't know. Who cares? Is it potentially dangerous to have clients come to your house for therapy? Yeah, right. We deal with people who are struggling. Perhaps one of them burns my house down one day. That is a risk. That is a fact. Is it true? Yes. Okay. If it's not true, immediately yeet out the window. Immediately set it on fire. Doesn't matter. If it is true, then we can progress to the next one. Is it helpful? Yeah, it's kind of helpful to be like, hey, don't burn my house down. Facts. Yeah. So I don't want to deal with people who are like, I have a history of arson. Like, okay, bro, you can't come to my house. Like, you can't come here. No, thank you. So you don't get to come because you have a history of arson. So is it helpful? Yeah, that's pretty helpful advice, right? Like, is it true for me? No, I don't care. The entire point of the way that I run my business is to run it out of my house. So even though it's true, even though objectively it is helpful, it is not true for me. And the only criteria I actually care about is the third criteria. Is it true for me? Hey, yeah. Amanda, you probably shouldn't cuss in your content. Okay, sure. That will turn some people off. Is that objectively true? Yes. Is it helpful? Yeah, it's coming from a helpful place. They're trying to help. Is it true for me? No. Then I'm not doing it. Hey, yeah. Amanda, maybe you shouldn't do a podcast in your underwear. I mean, is that one true? No, but we can continue. Is it helpful? Probably. I don't want to get like weirdos, although maybe I'll do that as an OnlyFans, just podcasting. Is it true for me? Yeah, I don't really want to podcast in my underwear, right?
Yeah.
So then it passes the test. So like learning to put any feedback through those filters means the most important filter is always what is true and helpful to me. 90% of businesses fail. That's true. Is that helpful? Yeah, I want to consider the risks when doing something. Is it true for me? No, because I'm 100% in charge of my business failing or succeeding. So I'm just going to do what it takes to succeed. So it's not true for me. So that filter helps put things in its place. And I find it to be helpful. So
yeah, I think that is super helpful.
Yeah, the only way you get to like being, and it's practice, right? Like you have to practice being weird because your nervous system has to adjust. You have to get used to it. But like learning to say like other people's opinions, even if they pay your bills, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they can choose not to work with you and we can wish them well. Let me help you find someone you're more aligned with. I want what's best for you, whether you work with me or not. I don't care. If I'm for you, hell yeah, let's party. If I'm not, I'll help you find someone who is. Like, there's no attachment there. I want everyone to love me. I'm super egotistical in that way, but like, not everybody has good taste. You know, it's okay. So it's like, and again, like not being yourself feels like dying. And I'm just not willing to do that. Like I'm here to have the most fun that I can have. So why would I intentionally put myself in a space where I feel like I'm dying? Yeah. No. Hell, and I don't have to.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
So I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
No thanks. If I had to do it, well, then I have to make a different choice. If I had a family to feed, if I lost my job and needed a job on the fly, if I, didn't have the resources that I currently have right now. Like when I first got out of school, I had a job in a setting that was not a perfect match, but like I needed a job, I needed experience, and it was good for what it was. But like, even if people are in that space now, like I don't want people to misunderstand, like you should always do what you want and fuck the consequences and always do these things. Like that takes a certain amount of safety. That takes a certain amount of things being in the right place. But even if you're not in that space right now where you're like, well, I don't really have a job that I love, or I don't feel like I can be myself with my partner, or like, it's really not safe to be myself with my family. Like, I can't tell you how many clients I have who are like that. Either they're LGBT or they have like, they just can't be themselves. And it's like, okay, there's consequences to being 100% yourself that maybe you're not willing to pay. And that's always your choice. And that's always okay. Like, as long as we can create some buffers there. Yeah. But even if you're not there, like that doesn't mean that we can't build a scaffolding to get you there while we're here right now. It's okay to like take a job that pays your bills, but you don't love, that maybe you can't be your full weird cinnamon roll, wonderful self while we work on finding you a job that is a better fit, building a business that is a good fit. Like maybe your partner right now is kind of shitty, or they're like no longer a really great match, or they just kind of suck, but like you can't leave yet because you don't have the finances or you don't have a space lined up, or like that's okay. That's okay. Like you can do both. You can bide time and build a way out
and evolve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You
It's
can
like,
do that. Like the 100% that's doable.
yeah.
And that's totally okay.
Yeah. I think, we are all kind of on that journey too, of like finding our safe spaces and finding,
And creating them.
yeah, creating them and figuring out like, how do we want to show up in the world? And we might not show up in every space the exact same way. And that's okay. And that still,
but we can still be authentic, right?
We can
like
still be authentic,
right.
yes, and we can still create opportunities for ourselves to evolve and to show up authentically and to make sure that we have community that gets us, and like all of those things that are going to allow us to still thrive and feed our soul and feel like, okay, I'm me in the world, you know.
And that's why I love coaching, because all those things are a skill set. Like something I didn't think I'd be teaching people, but like I teach people all the time, is like literally how to make friends and how to build a community. And this is another way that I grew up really wealthy and resourced, is like my family is Cuban. So like my mom's family in Illinois was all white people, and white people don't have community in the same way that like immigrant communities have a really strong sense of community. So like my mom's family wasn't in Florida. Her grandparents were there, but like not a lot of family. So I grew up with the Cuban family, which is so rooted in community, and you are together and you do for each other, and it's so reciprocal. So I was like, oh, this is normal. So then I moved to North Carolina, where it's majority white, and it's missing, and people don't know how to build a community because they didn't grow up with a community. They've never seen it. They're super isolated. So I'm like, oh, I have to like teach people how to be friends. And it's like all of those things, learning how to be wealthy, how to be good with money, how to master your mindset, how to regulate your nervous system, how to do business, how like all of those things are skill sets. Yeah. Which is why I love coaching. Like there's somebody who knows and teaches what you want, whether it's to learn investing, to learn energetics, to pull, I don't know, to learn how to friggin' plant onions in the best way, how to grow a giant pumpkin. Like, there's people who teach that, and maybe it's you and maybe it's me and maybe it's not, whatever, but there's somebody who you're going to jam with who can teach you that thing. And that may be like the ultimate source of wealth, is knowing that like you can just go get the thing that you're wanting.
You can get help. Yeah, that's that's such a, I think, like mental roadblock for so many people. It's just like, oh, I can go ask someone, I can go get help. There's someone out there that will be ready and willing to help me.
And there's somebody that's smarter than you. Like go to them and say, hi, help me. Like, I don't know, help me. And more often than not, especially if they're like a coach and they're in this space, like that's literally why they exist. But like I've talked to people who, like we bought a building, like a commercial building, and I was like, I'd never done that. I don't know anything about anything, right? And I was like, I don't know. My dad knew, but I was like, I don't know. So I was on the phone with planning and zoning quite literally every single week, probably multiple times a week for like 3 months. Brad at planning and zoning was my bestie for 3 months. I was like, hi, Brad, I don't know. And he's like, let me walk you through it. And I'm just like, yes, please. Like, thank you. Share your wealth of knowledge with me. And he was so nice. Brad, shout out to Brad at planning and zoning. We love him.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love your stories. I love your approach to life.
Thanks. Yeah. Just ask people for help. Go use your wealth. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all.
So tell the people on the interwebs where they can find you if you are the person to help them. Where can they find you, connect with you?
Yeah. So if you want therapy, probably going to have to go local unless you're in North Carolina. That's due to like licensing laws and things like that. If you're wanting me in a coaching capacity, Instagram is where I hang out. I'm on TikTok, but I'm never on it. I just like upload my shit and I'm like, put it into the void and let it be.
What happened?
No, thank you. It's like overwhelming to me. I'm like, what if I ate bees? So Instagram is where I hang out. It's at Amanda_Chils. If people are like, I definitely want to work with you, like, let me get a peek at your programs, then that website is livemyhappyhealth.com. And that's where you're going to find everything. But my Instagram is the most fun place. So you get lots of videos of the animals. We had 2 baby sheep born yesterday who were like babies.
So cute.
I love them. So that's where we hang out.
Okay, excellent. So we'll put that in all the show notes so
Yeah.
people can find you and come hang out and come see all your animals.
Come love me. And if I can be of help, like, hell yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your stories today.
This is fun.
Being your wild and weird and wealthy self.
We trying.
We so
just vibing, you know, it's so much more fun.
Yeah.
So
well, I loved our conversation that we had on your podcast, and tell people real quick about your podcast.
Oh yeah. So I have a podcast called The Root of Power. So the whole idea is that you are digging into your own root of power, which is you, your intuition, your soul, your joy, and just living that up, right? Like, if people hear nothing that I say, I just want them to know, like, it is so much more fun when you are just yourself, because it doesn't matter. Like, all of those fears around people like judging you and like thinking you're weird and stupid is like, yeah, maybe you are. That's okay. Like, who cares? Not me, because I'm going to be happy. So yeah, The Root of Power. We have a podcast. It's super fun. I was just recording episodes for it today.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's a good time. So if you want me in your brain, there you go.
Definitely. Everyone needs you in their brain.
Yeah. I'll just settle in like a chicken nesting.
The meerkats in the brain.
The meerkats. My meerkat's very excited. It wants you to come hang out.
All right. So everyone go follow Amanda, and thank you for tuning in today. And we will catch you for some more amazing interviews about wild, weird, and wealthy people. And go be your weird gremlin selves. We're here for it. And
literally,
if you're looking for a community of other, wild, weird, and wealthy people, we're the ones to find. So we'll see you around the interwebs.
Dude, thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey all, thank you so much for tuning in today. It would mean the world to me if you could subscribe, share, and leave a review so more people can learn about this work and access their true wealth. And if you'd like to continue your wealth work, please pop onto my email list so you can choose your own wealth adventure, whether that's applying for one-to-one coaching, accessing my DIY content, or staying tuned for upcoming wealth boosting programs. You can find all that at the following link, bit.ly/wealthypjs, PJS, bit.ly/wealthypjs. Join me there and let's get wealthy.